Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spiritual Awakening 101. My name is Reverend Jerry Yaakov, and I'm your host. I'm also a teacher and student of metaphysics. Today, we're going to be speaking about general principles that are applicable in our everyday lives. This is the most important thing: is the practice. We take the principles that are universal truths, and then we apply them in our lives, in our relationships, in our thoughts, in our interactions, in our speech. This is how we clear the mind, discipline the mind of all negativity, and then live a life of pure bliss, pure joy, the life of a higher power, which means us only happiness. Well, I have an introductory prayer treatment that I'll begin with. Let's go with something that I wrote back on July 13th of this year. It says, "Peace unto you, my brother. I forgive all the mistakes we've made in our dreams. Nothing in a dream matters. Just believe." My thoughts are centered in my higher power, love, which I call God. I am peaceful and serene today. I let God lead the way. All my paths are made straight by God, my higher power. I take care of my holy inner child with love and tender attention. The way is easy, and the path is love forever. God is the strength in which I trust. His light shows me the way back home. All my kin return with me, and the road to glory. That is us and the God of our understanding, love and salvation. My yoke is easy and light, because my higher power is my master teacher and elder brother, in whom I have perfect faith. I celebrate the glory that is my higher power. All light and love shines within me and around me forever. My soul and my inner child are blessed today and always. Be happy, dear child of God, for yours is a mighty gift to be shared with all your brothers and sisters, now and eternally. And so it is. Well, that's a introductory prayer treatment that I wrote, and the truth will set us free. So perfect love, which is my higher power, and I believe applies in all instances, will set us free, and it casts out all fear. There's no question that fear is the great hurdle that we have to get over. And fear is easily overcome since it is an illusion. There's only love, not fear. There's only faith, not fear. There's only holiness, not guilt. This is the truth, and it sets us free. But we have to practice seeing that within ourselves and our neighbor. And our neighbors, of course, include everybody and everything and everyone. There's no exceptions. Now, some may seem a little more difficult to apply these principles of love and forgiveness. I grant you that. But we aren't doing this alone. We're doing it with our higher power, which is only unconditional love. We have the ability, we have the gift of grace to be able to connect eternally with our higher power, our creator. We are as God created us. And in that likeness and image, God's mind, God's oneness, is our own love, oneness, our infinite creativity, the possibility of miracles, miracles of shifting away from the false fear to the true love that exists within our hearts and shared and joined within our hearts collectively and for the time of learning and teaching individually as well. This is our path. This is the general principles that I'd like to talk about today. General principles are distinguishable from personalities. Personalities are egoic. The ego identifies through personality, through the body, through special relationships, through special stories that one accumulates seemingly through time. And as we progress through time, we build up these stories and invest in them as our identity. But the truth is that anything and everything that is in the past no longer exists. And our individual and collective memory of the past is distorted as well. There's no truth in what I remember. I have a thought, and a thought brings up an image of the past that I think is real. But of course, the only thing that is real is the present moment, the present eternal always. And that's the mind in God itself, my higher power, my love. And when we learn to center ourselves in harmony and alignment with the present moment and with the great creator that is ourselves as well, we are the created and God is the creator. And never shall there be anything that interferes with that connectivity. And as we remember that and practice that, we know the truth and it has set us free. Well, I have also some other readings that I'd like to share with you. These are readings that I've selected from Ernest Holmes, who was the founder of Science of Mind, currently known as the Centers for Spiritual Living throughout the world. Here's a writing from Ernest Holmes. First, he quotes from John 3:35. The Father hath given all things. And the title of the wisdom lesson is I am supplied from the substance of God. I am supplied from the substance of God. So this is the truth. I don't create the substance. I receive it. I'm supplied by it. But since I'm so inextricably one with my Creator, it's hard to tell, and it's unnecessary to tell, where the Father leaves off and the Son begins. I'm supplied by the Father, Mother, God. I am one in the Father, Mother, God. All that I need is supplied to me. The Father hath given all things. Well, he goes on to write, we all have need of many things. Well, I'll take issue with that, maybe, or just by explanation. We have need of nothing. We're given everything already. It's a matter of awakening to the fullness and the richness and the wholeness and completeness that we already are. We have only imagined needs. And those needs can be used constructively. I can take those needs and give them to my higher power, which I call God, and say, here, God, remind me that all my needs are met. At the instant of my creation, you gave me everything that I need to sustain me eternally and as a divine being. Well, Ernest Holmes goes on, we cannot believe that the divine spirit wishes to withhold any good from us. It is the nature of God to give, and it is our nature to receive. Well, giving and receiving really are one in truth. So that's kind of an artificial distinction. It's our nature to give as well as to receive. It's our nature to receive as well as to give. Why? Because it's God's nature to give. God gives and gives and gives. And we receive and then we extend. We receive and then we extend. We receive and then we extend. It's our nature to give, just like God. Well, back of every idea of supply, every need in our human lives, there is something which forevermore gives of itself and takes the form of our experiences, which we permit it to. Whether it be a house to live in, money that we have need of, employment that furnishes gratification of adequate self-expression, always there is the giver that's behind everything that we receive, flowing into these things. But God cannot give if we refuse to accept. And that's the equivalent, really, of refusing to accept that I am as God created me, and God is Father, Mother, Creator. Refusing to accept is the equivalency of atheism, of agnosticism. I'm not putting down anybody's situation in doubt. We've all gone through periods of doubt. But you'll realize after a while that those periods of doubt and atheism and agnosticism, questioning, they parallel the dark soul of the dark night of the soul. We aren't happy campers. And when we start to realize that only God, the God of love of our understanding, restores us to sanity, do we realize that, yes, there is a God, and that God is behind all creation, all giving, all forthcoming of love and light and illumination, of knowledge and wisdom. We have no qualms about that, because then the dark night of the soul turns into the dawn and the brightness of the day. And when we realize that and remember that, we recognize that the problem was our lack of willingness to receive that which is always within us and as us. And that when we let go of that resistance, when we let go of the negative thinking of the ego, which is edging God out, we then, as I say, are benefactors, are inheritance of the love and light. And we do live eternally and immortally in that love and light. Not in form necessarily. Form has a brevity to it, but in content. The content of love and light goes on forever, not as an individuation of myself or yourself, but as a collective, expression of God's light. Let's call it the sonship, if you will. The sonship is miraculous because it is forever extending, forever expanding, forever enveloping and inviting inclusivity, oneness, association, and love. There's so many identifications: Christ, Buddha, Tao, Abraham, uh, the Krishna. All these things are resonating, so to speak, to different people at different times and in different ways. So the labels are interchangeable, but the truth behind the labels is just itself, the great I am. You know, when Moses asked, "Who shall I say sent me to Pharaoh?" and asked that the Jews be freed from slavery, God said, "Tell him that I am the great I am. I am that I am." Well, the I am never ends. The I am never had a beginning, never had an end. It's beyond the finite mind. There's no way of understanding it. There's just a way of beingness that we share. We're made in the likeness and image of the great I am. And I can say, and you can say with great certainty and definiteness, I am. Now, not I am in the small egoic sense, but I am in the great sense of the love and the light. The creative nature of God itself is giving. Well, let's take a look further at Ernest Holmes. Here's another writing. He quotes in Corinthians 9:8, "And God is able to make all grace abound toward you." And God is able to make all grace abound toward you. And the title of this entry is, "I lift up my cup of acceptance." Well, this is what we talked about earlier, the willingness to receive the truth, live as the truth, be the truth. Because any resistance to that places us in a state of mind of suffering. But when I lift up my metaphoric cup of acceptance of the great I am and all the love and all the healing power that that entails, then I know that God is able to make all grace abound towards me and towards you. We are born in grace, and in grace we live forever. There is nothing to fear. Grace literally includes us forever. Well, he goes on to write, "We lift up our cup of acceptance to the divine bounty when we think affirmatively and give thanks to the giver of all life. Being grateful and thankful is so important. That's one of the ways to overcome the resistance to receiving. Be grateful, be thankful, count the blessings, identify the blessings. Take a pencil and paper and write down morning, noon, night, or figuratively in your mind, all the blessings that you have received. And when you do that, there's a form of self hypnosis that I like to practice. This isn't a negative self hypnosis for entertainment purposes. This is a self hypnosis where we're disciplining our minds in the truth. We're immersing ourselves. It says daily we should practice affirming that our cup is filled and running over, always remembering that what we affirm for ourselves, we must affirm for others. Living and let live, giving and receiving, loving and being loved. Our experience is filled with God abundance. He goes on in a short prayer. This is a prayer treatment of affirmation. I am living in the continual expectancy that every good thing in my experience shall be multiplied. There is neither doubt nor uncertainty in my mind. I know that the Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty has given me life. I have complete confidence in the Spirit and its action in my experience. I affirm that today is filled with blessings for myself and others. The past is gone, and I gladly release it and let it go. The present is filled with peace and joy, and the future with hope. Gratefully, I accept all of the divine love and givingness and extend them to everyone I meet. I am made whole with the wholeness of the Spirit. I am guided into right action and successful accomplishment of all my good desires. This I accept. This I experience. Well, I wanted to talk briefly about guided into right action and successful accomplishment. God directs us and guides us as to what we're to do, the right next thing. The next right thing is always within our minds as a divine GPS system, but we must turn to the deliverer to be delivered. We ask God, what is the next right thing in your will, God's will, that you would have me do? I am at your call. I am your messenger. I'm the vessel through which I will do your work. And what we find is that God's will is our will. There's no difference. Again, there's no way of telling where God's will and our will begin and end. It's one and the same. We had made up a fearful will, self-will, egoic will, and those were destructive. Those were self-inflicting wounds. Those were imaginations and illusions that we can let go of. So it's very important that we have this model of practice. We're identifying all the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, all of my self-imposed egoic suffering. Here, God, take these defects, take these shortcomings from me. I only want to do your bidding. I only want to do your will, because I know that in truth and in light, your will is my will. I'm created in your likeness and in your image. Help me, Father, Mother God, to know your will and the next right thing to say, the next right thing to do, which may simply be to sit. You know, the old expression, don't do something, just sit there. That's a reverse, of course, of don't just sit there, do something. No, we turn that around. We say, don't do something, just sit there in the quiet and stillness and know that I am God. And in that knowing, you will be guided whether to do something, say something, give something. It's always very clear. You know, it's referenced as a still small voice, but that still small voice, intuition, even a vocalization in our minds sometimes can become very strong as we continue practicing. The more we practice, the stronger that voice is. And the more we practice, the weaker that inauthentic voice of the ego becomes, until finally it's chattering and it's raucous screaming of "I want it thus" and "I'm a victim," and all those negative thoughts become quieter and quieter, and they recede to the background in our minds. And in the foreground is God's love, God's presence with a capital P. God is present within my mind now, now, now. I listen to God's presence. I hear God's voice, which speaks to me all through the day. I know the truth, and it has set me free. I know to share the truth with my brothers and sisters. There's no question in my mind what my purpose is. I have a function, and my function is forgiveness as the light of the world. And I mentioned that in the opening. I forgive my brother's ego dreams. I forgive my own ego dreams and mistakes. And in that forgiveness, God rushes in with the Holy Spirit, which is given through grace. And we know what to do, and we know how to do it. And we may just be sitting in the stillness and the serenity. Well, this is a wonderful reading, and I so appreciate Ernest Holmes. He's added immeasurably to my life. Well, let's read one more entry from Ernest Holmes. It says, "My needs are supplied." And this is from James 1:17. "Every good gift cometh down from the Father." Well, the science of spiritual mind treatment cannot promise something of nothing. It does, however, teach, and it can demonstrate that a betterment of circumstances and conditions can be brought about through the realization that there is active in our undertakings a power greater than we are. The divine could only intend good and abundance for its creation, and we need to know that its nature is forever flowing into everything that we do. Well, as I desire to do only that which is good and constructive, life giving and life expressing, the divine abundance forever manifests in my endeavors. Therefore, I know that I shall prosper in everything I do. I know that I exist in the limitless possibility, and that the infinite good is right where I am and active in my experience. I believe that everything is complete self expression with a capital S, God expression, and it is now the law of my being. New thoughts, new ideas, new situations now unfold before me. There are new opportunities for achievement and abundant living. This I accept and this I expect. Well, the abundant living, of course, is an expression of higher power coming through us and as us for more abundant living in the world, to give the world the experience of abundance, to give those that we interact with the experience of their own abundance. No more poverty thinking, no more victimhood thinking, only the love and the light. And that comes from my mind to others' minds, their right minds, my right minds. We don't connect at the level of the lower ego minds anymore. You know, that kind of misery loves company, we let that go. That's never served us, and it's never served our brothers and sisters. What we do want is to be a holy messenger. We want to be the love and the light and the carrier of that love and that light. And this gives us purpose every day. You don't have to wonder what to do. You do not have to wonder, because God's voice will be directing you when you take upon yourself the mantle of the messenger. You carry the message, wherever you go and in all your affairs. You carry the message of love and light and forgiveness. This is the truth, and it sets us free, and it sets the other free as well. Well, we're coming to the end of this particular episode. It's amazing how quickly it's gone by. I'll just read one more real quickly here from Ernest Holmes. It says, "I use the law of good," and good can be spelled with a capital G as G-O-D, God. "I delight in the law of God," from Romans 7:22. And it says, "I am one with the infinite spirit of love, one with the outpouring of the divine life. I am governed by the perfect law of the inward man, made in the image and likeness of that which is pure, whole, and perfect. I know that the law of good is absolute. It is complete. It is operating in and through me now, bringing about everything that is good, everything that is right. Since this law must be perfect as well as exact, and since it must know how to bring everything about that is necessary to my good, I place my whole trust in it. And so today and every day, I accept the perfect action of the law of good, the law of God, as governing and making all things right in my world. Well, this is what I call living above the battleground. The battleground, or the dark night of the soul, the desert, is a place where the ego rules. And where the ego rules, I see consistent with ego thinking, separation, guilt, sinfulness. But when I rise in my mind, as I have the inherent ability to do, above that battleground of the ego, I no longer see it as a battleground. I see it as a resting place where my brother and I lie down beneath our respective olive trees. We share the flock. We share everything that is good. The love and the light is a joint venture. It's said that the ark of peace is entered two by two. Well, that means that I must join with my brother and sister before I can know true peace. I can't go alone and exclude certain people who are in my egoic thoughts to be judged. I can't judge lest I be judged. So it's a package deal. God, me, the other, all as one in a holy, holy, holy Trinity. That is the truth, and it has set me free. And I use these episodes on the NECAT network just for that purpose alone, to minister to those that, you know, um, sometimes stumble onto these episodes, sometimes tune in with regularity and by choice. But there's never any coincidences. Everything is a choice. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so I'm, in a sense, expressing our teacher for the benefit of myself and for you as well. Thank you for being with us. I'll conclude by saying I'm so grateful to my wife who edits these episodes, and to the NECAT Nation, and to YouTube. We put these up on YouTube for viewing. All of it comes together consistent with God's will, I hope and I pray. And so with that, I'll say namaste, shalom, and peace. And we will see you next time. No question about it. We are brothers and sisters forever in the light and the way and the life. Amen.